the first people of Ventura County. We, as present-day members of this community, are grateful for the teachings of the Shumac who passed on to us the importance of caring for this land. As members and leaders of this community, we have been called upon to be stewards, and therefore we should always be mindful of our decisions and do what's best for the community and the land we live on. And it is my honor now to introduce Lucy Rodriguez, who will present the lesson.
Hello. As you heard, my name is Casey Rodriguez. I first would like to thank my great-grandmother, Juana Maria Rodriguez, for her resilience to the mission system. I also would like to thank my elder, Julie Kim, for allowing me to be here to bless this event. We have found here my brothers and sisters. It's truly a beautiful thing to see Ventura County, now including Navy Ribbon voters of Ventura County, being ready to welcome, collaborate, and both share recently, I came back from Hatem as District 38 board member, executive board member, and it's amazing to see how our local area is moving away in this matter. And I'm beyond grateful to walk along with all of this. Right? It truly is like our blessed Supervisor Carmen Maris's vision of representation of reality. This area has always gone through transformations ever since the beginning of the story, where some of our relatives were turned into Alex. So yes, the new beach park in Oxnard is pronounced as Alex Boy. One more time, Alex Boy. As I pray, I ask all directions to receive my words and to bless our time here today. May Creator give a breath of renewal to the Lord. Passings no longer be constrained in any matter, leaving a rate to start and a sense of excitement and eagerness for all. May this new board be a sign of the beauty that inclusiveness brings. For it truly takes all types of women with all various backgrounds working together to bring the much needed changes we all seek. It wasn't included, but I see some men in here, so I'm going to acknowledge you guys for coming. May the new group remember stand strong for the communities who have gone unheard and unseen for way too long, including those who live in historically disadvantaged areas like Lemonwood and the Ventura Avenue in regards to environmental protection as well as social justice and making sure all citizens in our county always receives the public services they need. Lastly, may the league remember our youth. It is no surprise many of our youths are hurting and looking for someone in our community and they are truly cared about. We women are indeed the ones who Creator has blessed here to not only teach our youth, but also to nurture them. We must create ways to allow them to feel safe, not only at their schools, but also at their homes. These are Ventura County citizens are counting on us to keep going. We might not be able to give 100% each day, but we must dig deep, sometimes really, really deep, and give something good that would benefit the future every single day. For it is us who shines the light in the dark moments, and love will bring the changes we all seek and heal our neighborhoods as well as home them. For it truly is just like Carmen would say, it's like laundry, somebody has to do it. The great thing is that this league has teammates. Let's please find ways to support our teammates and come along when you know someone is getting tired. No, let's go make some good trouble this year. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Laura and Casey. At this time, I would like our parliamentarian, Barbara Doyle, to please let us know whether we have a quorum today for our business meeting.
Yes, we have far exceeded our quorum. Congratulations.
So at this time, we have the business portion of our meeting. We are blessed to have so many visitors here today, but I do want to point out that only league members can vote on the business at hand. And I would like to also acknowledge Maddie Park. Maddie, can you wave your hand? she's going to keep us on track. So if we start being too long-winded, she's going to cut us off. Also, in the event that our election proves to be a contested election and we have to have an actual vote instead of just by acclamation, Maddie and Karen Savitt have agreed to count the votes. Thanks to you both. At this time, I'm going to ask Betsy Patterson to come to the podium. She chaired our annual program planning meeting, and she will come up and discuss the proposed program for the upcoming year. Thank you, Betsy.
Thank you, Kathy. Oh, wait for hold your applause until you hear what I'm going to say. Good morning, and it is so nice to see so many friends and some new faces also. So welcome to you all. So glad to have you here. In case you don't know, I'm kind of intimidated by this podium, so I'm going to step on the other side of it, if that's okay. And I have my notes, so sorry about that. Program planning is the term that the League of Women Voters give to developing our areas of focus each year. Each year in January or February, members are invited to a program planning meeting, which we decided to call this year New Year, New Goals, to discuss and recommend activities for the coming year. In even-numbered years, we also recommend areas of focus for the National League, and in odd-numbered years, like 2023, we recommend areas of focus for the California League. We held our meeting via Zoom on February 21st, and there were 24 members in attendance. Before our meeting, however, we sent out surveys to all of the members, asking them to rank their priorities for local and California activities, trying to maximize the input of our members in our planning for the coming year. We heard presentations at our meeting from our current committee chairs, as well as from members who have a particular interest that they wanted to pursue. You can see representations around the room of the current areas of interest and activity. After discussion, we came to a consensus on the program we would like to recommend for the upcoming 2023-24 year, with the caveat that to pursue an activity, there needed to be at least one person willing to lead it. I'm happy to say that we have almost completed all of those requirements for all of our program recommendations. So, in addition, we discussed what we thought should be the top 3 priorities for our state league, in addition to, of course, making democracy work, which is a continuing focus at all levels of the league, including our local league. Our recommendations to the state league were water issues, criminal justice reform, and housing and homelessness. At the convention, the state convention in May, the members from all of the local leagues around California voted to pursue these following programs for 2023 to 2025. They do a 2-year cycle. Making democracy work in California, climate change and sustainability, including a focus on water resources, housing and homelessness, criminal justice reform, including juvenile justice reform. So I'm proud to say that our league is right in touch with what needs to be addressed in California by the league. So today, for our local league, we are recommending the following areas of focus for the coming year, in addition to making democracy work for Ventura County. They are similar to what we have pursued in the past year, and with a few new ones added. As I name the committee activities, I would like the committee chairs or leaders to stand and be recognized. And please stay standing so our membership can see how dedicated you are to continue leading these programs. The first program is called advocacy. This is a new area for our local league, but only if a leader steps up. Each league member may advocate as an individual, but for the league to advocate, there must be a clear position related to the issue by the league. We have no one so far who has stepped up for advocacy, but you can learn more about advocacy at this table over here where there's a poster about what advocacy involves. And if you would like to step up, please let me know. Second would be climate change. Wayne Morgan, meeting chair for that. And please take a look at his table, where he has industriously gone to the library and checked out a production cooktop. Do you even know they exist? Of course you did. But, did you know you could get them from the library? Yeah, all right. Wayne's probably share all that information already there. Civics education and participation. We decided to be considered part of voter services, and we educate voters about our local officials and county departments in this all year for elections until the primary of March 2024. Co-chairs of voter services are Pat Essick. Pat, stand up. Where are you, Pat? Okay. And Kathy Morgan, who's already standing. Our current Lunch and Learn League series is part of our civic education, which this spring has been coordinated by Patty Chan. Patty, you want to just stand up and say hi or wave? Yeah, there we go. With help from, you guys don't have to stand up, but Carol Lindbergh, Manny Park, Wayne Morgan, me, and Kathy Morgan. The next group is housing and homelessness, and we were delighted at our program planning meeting to have 3 people stand up and say they would help coordinate this and get it going. So Sharon Crane, would you please stand up? I don't think Ellen Brokaw is here today. Sharon, I know you were here. I've been trying to hide from us all. And Judy Murphy, can you please stand up? The next area is local journalism in crisis, and James Spiller, has been active in coordinating meetings with local newspaper editors and hopes to recruit more interested members. Stand up, Jane. And Judy gets to sit down. Maybe she's taking notes that Sharon, we need to stand up if you can. Keep standing. We don't want them to miss who's doing housing and homelessness. The next area is the Observer Corps, and Carol Lindbergh and Pat Butler have been leading this and are looking for more interested people to participate. So, Carol, where is Pat? Pat, stand up. And next, we have race and social justice with diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, Kay Armstrong and Laura Hernandez, please stand up. Scholarship is chaired by Kay Armstrong with help from Mulaney Ashen, Sharon Bushman, Carol Lindbergh, Carter Hurd, Ashley Chalanis, and Mary Bergen. So we have some members that are helping with that. And lastly, we have voter services, which includes voter registration as a subcommittee. And I already mentioned that Pat Essick and Kathy Morgan are co-chairs of voter services. Carmen, will you stand up? Carmen Hurd and I are co-chairs of the voter registration subcommittee. Please take note of these wonderful people who are standing, who have stepped up to help lead these activities. You can't do it though without the other members volunteering to help. So as you walk around the room during today's meeting and look and learn about all the activities you're doing, there's a sign-up sheet in each one of them. Feel free to sign up for all of them. One last thing, we realized that thank you, you guys can sit down. We realized that we are continuing many of the programs from 2022-23. 1 year is not long enough to accomplish much. In light of that, the board has proposed that we consider switching our local program planning adoption to a 2-year cycle instead of annually. This requires an amendment to our bylaws, which you will hear about later. Before we ask for a vote on the recommended activities, I'd like you to remember that your donations support all of our activities. At your tables, you will find an envelope for donations by check if you would like to do that. Please indicate on your check whether you're donating for scholarship or the general fund. If you would prefer to make your donation online, Karen, please stand up. Karen Sabat, standing right beside me, of course. Karen, you will be able to take your credit card and you can make your donation that way. You can also renew your membership if you need to do that, or join if you're not a member. There are also links to sign up for our last Lunch and Learn to the League on your tables. There are 2 cards there that have links to that. The last event is Wednesday, June 14th at noon, featuring Dr. Cesar Morales, the Ventura County Superintendent of Public Education. And last but not least, there's a link to purchase tickets to our ice cream social, which you may have heard about earlier, on Sunday, July 16th, National Ice Cream Day, from 1:30 to 4 at Camarillo Green County Park, which is at the base of the Conejo Grade. You may purchase tickets and prepaid parking here today. If you purchase a ticket today, you will get a special gold ticket. It's actually yellow. Gold ticket, which will give you access to special extra treats and prizes. So find Karen or me if you would like to buy tickets to the ice cream social during the event. Okay, at this point, I'm going to mess this up because I do it every single time the wrong way. At this point, the board would like a vote by the membership on these programs. I'm sorry, I knew it. Okay, the board would like to ask for a motion to vote on these programs that are used to. Pat Essick.
Second.
And the second is done. Bob? Discussion? So, we got the second and now we can vote. So, if you're in favor, what? Oh, yes, would you like to discuss anything? Don't shoot. No, please, if you have questions or you'd like to discuss something, please, yeah. Hearing no one and seeing no one raise their hands, I would like to ask for a vote by acclamation. So just say aye if you like the idea.
Aye.
And no if you're opposed. Good decision. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Betsy. So we have a program for the upcoming year, and that's wonderful. And now I'd like to turn it over to Pat Butler, who is going to talk about, who is chair of the bylaws committee and will comment on bylaw changes.
Thank you, Kathy. We work on the bylaws every year, and so it's not a big deal. It used to be because there were 9 years when no one looked at them.
Oh,
But I'd like to thank my stalwart companions here on this committee, Betsy Patterson, Doris Simile, Pat Essick, Carol Lindberg, Maddie Park, and Patty Chan. Thank you all. You have done a wonderful job. Our bylaws are in the best shape they've been in years. And now that aforementioned change in how often we establish local programs, that requires a change to the bylaws. And in Article 8, membership meetings and voting rights, Section 2, annual meetings, we will strike the words adopt a local program for the ensuing year and add in odd numbered years, the members shall adopt a local program for the ensuing 2 years. And in Article 10, programs, Section 3, adoption of program, paragraph A, we will change the wording to be, the Board of Directors shall consider the recommendations submitted by the members 2 months prior to the annual meeting in odd years to correspond with state league planning and shall formulate the proposed programs. Now, this is coming from the committee, so we can ask for a motion to approve this. Carol?
I move we accept, I move that we accept the changes to bylaws that you just read.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Is there any opposition? Then the motion is passed by acclamation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat, and thank you and your committee for all your hard work on keeping our bylaws up to date and up to par. All right, at this time, I'm going to introduce Cheryl Collard. She is the chair of both the Budget Committee and the Nominating Committee, so she is going to talk about their recommendations on those items. Thank you, Cheryl.
Good morning. We will start with the Budget Committee. And the Budget Committee is composed of myself. It includes Pat Butler, our treasurer, Karen Savitt, and myself. We prepare a budget each year. It's included in your calls. I hope you've all read it. The budget provides our funding that's necessary for our programs and plans that Betsy talked about, and this is for our upcoming year. The budget is set up rather simply. It shows income, expenses, and our reserves and savings. The committee prepares the budget and it is submitted to the board in the spring. The board has reviewed it and now we present it to all of you for adoption. I've not had any calls from any of you or emails, so I'm assuming everybody has had an opportunity to review it. I will make a comment that the board does have authorities and make some adjustments as needed during the course of the year to respond to those changes, and that our board always shows a very prudent approach to the budget. Expenses are thoroughly discussed. We have done some audits and some reviews of our paperwork, so I think you can feel confident that this chapter of the League of Women Voters is operating within the best practices of our organization. We also, I want to bring, someone did ask me a question today about the budget, and I want to remind all of you and piggyback on some of the comments that Betsy made. We operate because we have legacy gifts, donations, memberships, and ongoing support from our members. And we couldn't do this. We balance the budget because of you. So while you may see or think that we are operating in the red, we prepare a budget, but that budget is balanced because we find money that comes to us through our donations and through our savings. So the bottom line is, if you take a look at it, there's money in the budget, and we're ready to move forward. There is one error that I do want to bring up, and that is it shows on the committee line that we were presenting $9,000 to be spent on committees. It is only $1,000. So that's a big savings right there. And I apologize, I didn't get onto that till late last night after the basketball game, and I saw that. I was like, wait a minute. So we will, I'd like to entertain a motion for the committee, and so we can entertain a motion for that soon if there's any discussion. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Pat? Oh, yeah, hold on, just a minute. I thought you were a question. No questions, correct? So with no questions, we will entertain a motion to accept the budget with the change of the committee assignment, or the committee list. A second, please. Betsy? I'm going to assume that there is acclamation. Yes, please.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Opposed?
Any opposed? No opposed. Thank you. Call for the question.
Just looking at the budget for voter registration.
I'm sorry?
Do you have a budget for voter registration?
Yes, we do.
It's not listed.
We've given you a summary of the budget. We don't have all of the categories. I'd be happy to meet with you. I've got the categorical budget with me. But yes, there is definitely money aside. Okay, so I think we have answered questions and we are okay to, you agree to it, right? Good. So I'm going to maintain the podium here for a moment and now go on to nominations. I do chair the nominations committee that includes Maddie Park, Doris Similik, and myself, and Pat Butler. We have been working on this to serve our organization. We have 15 members that are part of our board of directors. I'm very pleased to point out to you in your call this year, we have the full slate of 4 officer positions that are filled and 10 directors. And that would leave us one opportunity for someone who might like to join the board. And our process is that you can be nominated from the floor, and you cannot nominate somebody unless you've gotten their consent. So don't speak up on it. But if there is someone who would like to join the board and has consent, yeah, not if they're not. I don't see anyone standing forward. So we will be presenting to you the slate of 4 officers and 10 directors. And also as part of this process, we need to select 3 general members who will serve on the nominating committee. We have 2 right now, Doris Simile, Doris is back there, and myself. We're looking for a 3rd person from the general membership to join us. And we can take nominations from the floor if there's someone immediately ready today. And if not, they'll speak to me during the course of the year. We'll go through the board and see if we can add another person to our nominating committee.
Don't be shy.
So with that, I believe we can go ahead and this is a committee report, and we can entertain a motion to accept the slate as you have. And I'm not going to read through it. Enjoy it.
Read through
Yes.
the slate. And maybe every people nominated could stand up.
Okay, very good. While people are standing up, or getting ready for that, I did want to take a moment to make a comment from the nominating committee. Currently, we have one of the largest membership rosters in recent history. And as we know, our members are the strength of the organization. And general members contribute to all the programs that were discussed and support the services. We are the lead. We are the members. We are the lead. We're fortunate to have a growing membership that represents most of our county. There's still some areas that we would benefit from having a few more members and more representation. But I think we're very fortunate to have a number of good members that provide good leadership on the board. We rotated members among the board, and the board itself is rotated. We have people that come and gone between the board and back into membership as time and interest allows them to commit to lead work. So there's just so much that can be done, and I think on behalf of the nominating committee, we'd like to extend our thanks to all of those who serve in any leadership role and extend an invitation to any members to engage where you can. Nominating is not exciting, budget is not exciting, but those are places we need your help. And there's great places to be a good general member, and all of us are good general members. So I offer you a few comments on that. So with that, we'll call up the people, or at least ask them to stand up so you will be acquainted with them. Our nominations for president are Pat Butler, who's almost as short as she said. There she is. I love you, Pat. Vice President Susan Roth.
Susan couldn't be
Susan, you could not be here today. Our Secretary Judy Murphy. Our Treasurer Karen Sabbath. Our other directors, Kate Armstrong, Barbara Doyle, so there's back here, Barbara, Pat Essick, Kathy Morgan, Terry Harvelbrod, I know is away, she could not be here today, Carol Lindbergh, Maddie Park, Betsy Patterson, Jane Spiller, and Chelsea Sutula, which I don't think Chelsea is here. This is our leadership. Thank you. And to make that official, we will ask for a motion to approve the slate. Mr. Bob Brightman, thank you. Thank you, and a second. Mr. Bob Lowe, I like that. We have a motion and a second. Is there approval for the slate of officers as presented? Aye. And with that, I think I boo-booed a bit. And also Okay, thank you. I'm so glad we're not quite as formal as the public process.
Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl and her committees put in a lot of work over the years to get all that together. So thank you for working on it.
Okay. We're good.
She's trying to steal my notes and then I won't know where I am. So I'm so glad that you all got to meet the incoming board. Unfortunately, some of the, Susan King-Roth and Chelsea Satula, who were on the board last year, could not be here today. And our newest board member, Terry Harper Road, is also away. But I'm sure you'll get an opportunity to meet her at some upcoming event. At this time, I would like to introduce Kay Armstrong. Kay does many things for our league, but at this point, she's going to speak with us about the scholarship committee. Thank you, Kay.
Well, I'm used to glasses, I guess. Anyway, I am really happy to be here today and talk about the scholarship committee. And anyone who wants to offer money, we will accept it. But I want to acknowledge and give thanks to our current scholarship committee members. And as I call your name, would you please stand up? Some of them are not able to be here today, but thank you, Maddie. But those who are, please stand up. Melanie Ashton. Yeah, she handed it off to me in a very sneaky way. Mary Bergen, Sharon Bushman, Ashley Chalonis, Carmen Hurd, Carol Lindbergh. Thank you all. And I want to give you just a brief history. In 2014, the League of Women Voters Ventura County founded a scholarship fund. The donors made it possible to offer a $1,000 scholarship on a rotating yearly basis to Ventura College, Oxnard College, and Moore Park College for qualified students. In 2020, we raised the scholarship to $1,500, still rotating basis, and modified our scholarship requirements. And they are currently: 1, must be a transferring student from the designated college to a 4-year university. 2, must have a minimum GPA of 3.0. 3, must carry a minimum of 12 units. 4, must have completed or currently be enrolled in a political science, history, or government course. A stated major in these fields is preferred but not required. 5, must demonstrate financial need. 6, leadership, community service, and extracurricular activities as a plus. Fast forward to scholarship awards in 2022 and 2023. Because of the very generous donations to the scholarship funds, the committee voted for and the board approved raising our scholarship amount to $3,000 for all 3 community colleges yearly. This is quite a change. This year, we are pleased to have awarded 2 $1,500 scholarships each to Ventura College and Oxnard College. Moore Park awarded $3,000. I have had communication with our 5 recipients, and it's really exciting to talk to them because they have such big dreams, and a lot of them have struggled so much to get where they're going. And I'm very happy we're able to offer them something to help them on their way. At Ventura College, Erica Sherman is going to be a psychology major at UCLA. And Viola Aguilar, who's a political science major, will be at CSUCI. Several of these people are unable to be here today because they are looking for housing. And I understand that is a real pain. At Oxnard College, Ramiro Arevalo, whom I did get to meet, he's now in Washington, D.C., starting an internship. And he's going to be political science at the American University. And Malaya Gumineo, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, She is going to be at engineering at Cal. And at Orr Park, Ali Salam is going to be studying history at CSUSD. We are very happy to have Ali with us today. And so I am going to ask him to come on up now and give us a few words about himself.
Hello, you guys. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. It's been quite a journey, I would say, to finally be transferring for sure. I grew up in Atlanta and I moved around a lot. My mom has been a single mom all her life. I have like two siblings. And she's always had like a bad hip, so you know what I mean. But she's always been grinding. She's always been taking care of us, you know what I mean, like doing the best she can for us. So I've just always seen her working hard, and I knew like when I'm an adult, like I gotta put that work in too for sure. I started Moore Park in 2019, and like after my first year, I had 30 credits and everything. Then COVID happened. We all remember that, right? Weird. But yeah, that really slowed me down. I ended up switching my major from kinesiology to history, which I've always just enjoyed learning about history. Super interesting. But I started doing that, and thankfully we're done now. I'm gonna be at San Diego State. But this league and this scholarship is like, I can't even like put it in words how much it's actually gonna help me. You know what I mean? Like, so just with housing and just existing in the cost of living now. So, I really appreciate the help. It's a great thing you guys got going. But I don't know what else you guys want to hear from me. Are you registered? Yes. Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't know if I wanted to live on campus or off campus, but thankfully I'm like renting a house with some friends, so it all worked out.
You'll be able to meet Ali. He was able to be here today. And so, like I said, money, all the time, money. And we also have a sign up if you would like to be on the scholarship committee or join us and know more about what we do. We try to follow up with the students as they move on through life. And I've had several conversations with one last year. Blank on names right now, but the two people who went to Cal, they are going to internships in Washington, D.C. They have just been doing wonderful. And I think that was who I've spoken to most recently. But I'm so happy that we've been able to do this, and we've been able to increase our scholarship to the amount we have. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Carrie, and thank you to her whole committee. They evaluate those applications and put the work in. Thank you. I was asked earlier not to let you know the restrooms went through the school. Just want you to go out that way. You can just go in the store that's here, and there are restrooms there if you need those. We have been ahead of schedule. How unusual is that? So I just want to offer, does anyone need to get up, get a drink, stretch, or anything, or shall we just move on?
More water would be great.
If we can like go see if we can find our waitress and get some more water, that would be great. So no, no one, see, nobody wanting to get up and get something else. Or stretch, anything, we'll just plow right on through. I guess we do have a stretch break.
So,
2 minutes.
And it's hard.
Yeah, I wanted to. Sorry, we're first project. Okay, so
You go in the store here.
Ding, 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 ding. Ladies and gentlemen. I think we'll get back on track and maybe we'll have more time for questions after we hear from our wonderful speaker. Oh, please. No. All right. Thank you, everybody. I think I got to stretch a little bit. We are very fortunate today to have with us Claudia Bautista to speak on the state of criminal justice in Ventura County. Claudia is the head public defender of Ventura County and is responsible for overseeing and managing all internal operations of the public defender's office. Since 2001, she has served in a variety of roles in the public defender's office, including deputy public defender, supervisor, chief public defender of the felony and probate units, and then assistant public defender. On October 20th of 2020, Claudia Bautista was appointed as the county's new chief public defender by a unanimous vote of the County Board of Supervisors. Upon her appointment, retiree public defender Todd Howard stated, "This is fantastic news for the residents of our county, as this appointment represents the county's first female public defender, first person of color to hold the position, first native Spanish speaker, and first public defender born in another country." Claudia's appointment reflects another step towards equality for many under and unrepresented voices within our community. And those remarks were taken from, as I said, the retiring public defender at the time. Claudia received her Bachelor of Arts from UCLA and her Juris Doctorate from the University of Wisconsin Law. She is the recipient of the Richard Urban Trial Attorney of the Year, and she is very devoted to leading both her colleagues and clients to success. She strives for a harmonious workplace, promoting inclusion, trust, and collaboration, and focusing on shared strengths and priorities. Let's give a big welcome to Claudia Bautista. Thank you.
Good morning, and it is definitely my pleasure to be before you and a privilege to be before all of you in this league in terms of inviting me and kind of sharing with you a little bit about my journey as a public defender, but mainly about all the good work that our public defender's office does for the citizens of Ventura County, so all of you. And I see a lot of alignment. It was very exciting to hear a little bit about the program because I see a lot of alignment in the work that we do and in our shared values and our goals, especially when it comes to having an impact on Ventura County. So thank you very much for the invitation and privilege to be here tonight. And thankfully, yes, I do need a microphone because, as you can imagine, as a trial attorney, my voice and picking juries, usually what happened is I would start really loud like now, and then it would drop down. And then people would start raising their hand and saying, so I appreciate the microphone, and please, if you can't hear me, feel free. I'm used to we can't hear the parts. Clarence Earl Gideon was arrested and charged with theft of $5. And for breaking in and taking some sodas and taking some beer, and charged. And he had to represent himself, because in 1961, you were not entitled to a public defender if you were charged with a felony. You were charged with a crime. In 1961, only those persons charged with capital offenses would get an attorney. And so he represented himself, and he was convicted, and he was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Mr. Gideon didn't give up. And he said, I'm going to write to our Supreme Court and I'm going to say this is in violation of my constitutional rights. And he did. And the Supreme Court agreed with him. 2 years later, in 1963, in the landmark watershed case of Gideon versus Wainwright, the Supreme Court said, anyone charged with a crime where your liberty is at stake, you're entitled to an attorney. You're entitled to counsel and therefore entitled to present a defense by a competent, effective lawyer. 1963. In 1968, Ventura County formed its first public defender office. And I can tell you that today there are some counties that don't have public defender offices. But thankfully, Ventura County in 1968 was a leader in forming one. Today, Ventura County, led by myself, has 126 employees. We have 68 lawyers, 16 investigators, and 42 professional staff. To give you a little perspective, the Public Defender's Office represents 8, if not 9, of those 10 persons charged with crimes in Ventura County. That's 80%. On some years, we represent more than 80%. So in 2022, the Ventura County Public Defender's Office, my office of skilled, effective, competent lawyers, represented over 82% of those charged with crimes in Ventura County. The district attorney filed over 14,000 cases last year in 2022, and the public defender's office represented over 11,500 persons charged with crimes. Our office represents those charged with misdemeanors, those charged with felonies, but we also represent clients whose liberty is at stake when they are involuntarily committed into our psychiatric hospitals. Ventura County has 2 of them. We have Vista Del Mar and Hillmont, and we represent those individuals who have been involuntarily committed to psychiatric hospitals. Additionally, we have lawyers and resources committed to probate conservatorships. Those are individuals who, whose family member, either due to a developmental disability or some other issue with competency, a family member or an interested party is seeking a probate conservatorship. And because it is a deprivation of liberty, our office is represented to represent those individuals whose family member or interested party is seeking a probate conservatorship. What else does the public defender's office? I will give it out to the group, but I do want to leave time for questions because I want to make sure that that to be responsive to the questions that you might have about what we do. Not only do we assist our clients through the criminal legal system, but we also help our clients in the post-conviction setting. What does that mean? It means that if you have questions, if you have questions about your probation, you would come to our office and ask about those questions. We have paralegals, we have law clerks who can assist you with those questions. We also happen to help clients in the post-conviction setting. You want to expunge your record. You want a clean slate. You want a new beginning. You can come to our office if you qualify. If you qualify, meet your court. Because what did Earl Gideon teach us about our criminal justice and our criminal legal system is that you can't effectuate your rights competently and effectively if you're not properly represented. And our clients are poor. That means that they cannot meaningfully exercise their Sixth Amendment right to a fair trial because they don't have legal counsel represent them, and therefore their rights are compromised. So if you're poor and you want post-conviction, if you want to clean your record, you can come to our office and we can assist you with that. Because what we have learned, and certainly what I have learned in the 20 years in the public defender's office, is that if you remove those barriers of post-conviction, what are those barriers of criminal conviction, right? Because you can't get a job, you sometimes lose your children. If you get a criminal conviction, you are definitely going to be losing your license in any capacity. And therefore, if you don't have money to pay the bills, you're getting evicted, you're losing your children, you're losing your job. Those is what maybe many of you have already heard, the collateral consequences of a criminal conviction. Over the years, the state of California has done a tremendous, I think, a tremendous heavy lift of trying to change the landscape of mass incarceration that has been happening for 20 years. And those are through the changes in the law. But what the state of California has done in changing these, in making amends, just how we say, or changing these laws, it has placed the burden on the public defender's office, on defense counsel, to make sure that these changes are being effectuated in courtrooms and in post-conviction, which is great, but it comes unfunded. There is no money for that. So if the public defender 20 years ago, when I started in the public defender's office on Christmas Eve in 2001, and when I started, we still had very active 3 strikes. We still had a very active district attorney who, if a person had 2 strikes and was arrested and convicted of methamphetamine in the pocket or a marijuana cigarette in their back pocket, they would be subject to incapacitation and 25 years to life. The law has changed, and it has changed in the last 10 years where they have said no more. So that law mandated that anybody serving a prison sentence out of Ventura County that got convicted for having a rocket in the pocket or a cigarette or marijuana or anything needed to come back and be resentenced. And that burden landed on us, thankfully, because we are, if you will, the subject matter experts to help our community navigate a very complex criminal legal system. Thankfully, that is happening. Changes in the law in the last 5 years have forced us to bring attention to those who are charged with crimes who have previously served our country as veterans and might not actually be suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of that service, or have experienced sexual trauma as a result of their service in the military. All of those issues need to be raised, and there are laws now mandating that as defense counsel, you have to bring them to the judge. You have to seek conversion. Our responsibility, accepted 100%. But how about funding us like you fund the district attorney? Because law enforcement in this country and in this state gets a lot of money for the prosecution of crimes, and in particular of certain crimes that may be of high priority for certain administrations. And I'm going to highlight guns. I'm going to highlight drugs. And so in the same fashion, if you're going to give money for the prosecution of these, which absolutely 100%, we want to make our community safer. You also have to look to who is performing the work of making sure that our constitutional rights are protected when you're arrested, that our constitutional rights are protected when searches are effectuated, when our constitutional rights are protected when they are serving a search warrant, when they're searching your car, when they're searching your home, or when they're asking you for a plea bargain so that you can get a lesser sentence. You want effective, competent counsel standing right next to you saying, yes, everyone's following the law and everyone's following the rules. Why did I become a public defender? For that sole reason. Because in me, and hopefully you hear it in my voice, it's a passion that as a public defender and now as an office that leads public defenders, we are the ones who raise our hand and say, but did you search the car lawfully? Is that warrant really valid? Did the police officer follow the rules? Is the judge following the rules? Is the district attorney following the rules? Because I came to realize and believe 100% and to my core that if everybody follows the rules, the system works. And it is our responsibility, it is my mandate, my calling now in leading an office, that when people don't follow the rules, we are there to say, I object. I object. Because that's the way, and it is only in this way that our system works. 2022, we did see an increase in criminal violence in Ventura County. And so if we again do the math, if there are increase in criminal cases filed in Ventura County, that means there is going to be an increase in the number of clients that we're going to represent. And so when the district attorney gets a grant to test DNA and old rape kits, and they file charges on those, we, the public defender's office, will represent 80% of those. When the sheriff gets $2.5 million to test those old rape kits, which should be done, they should have been done a long time ago. But when the state funds it to get the work done and doesn't fund the public defender's office or counsel to defend them, it becomes a burden on existing resources. And we are doing the best that we can with what we have. And if some of you had an opportunity to listen to my budget presentation that I presented, I believe a couple of weeks ago, and if you didn't, it's online. I urge you to see it, and I urge you to see the district attorney's budget presentation, the sheriff's budget presentation, and you draw your own conclusions. With my slate of 126 lawyers, 126 in total, because it's 16 lawyers, 16 investigators, and 42 professional staff, we do a lot. We are strong, we are small, but we are mighty. And we have an impact every single day for those clients that we represent, and even the ones that we don't represent, who have questions about immigration. We participate at Swap Meet Justice, Justicia de Ayer, that happens every month in our community. And our community members can come up to our table and say, I have a question on immigration. I want to clean my record. I have outstanding fees and fines. And we may direct you to homeless court to get rid of those fees and fines with service. And some clients come and want to connect with their pre-existing connection of behavioral health. They want to get, treatment for their mental illness, or connection back for treatment for their mental illness. Or they want to talk about a program. Maybe they're ready for recovery. They want information on how do I get into this treatment program, and we assist with that information. The giving of information is free, and you don't have to qualify or be poor to get our information. Because when our community is informed, when they have the information on the resources that are available to them, we all win as community members. And just as the district attorney and the sheriff will talk to you about public safety, the public defender is very much a part of that public safety. We all make our community safer by the work that we do. And I'm very proud of that work. Like I said, the one issue I'm going to leave you with before I take questions, so start formulating your questions, that I want us to start to look at, and certainly a priority that I want to start to look at, and that is if you were too poor to meaningfully exercise your Sixth Amendment right to a trial, to a fair trial. And therefore, you had a legal constitutional right to counsel. If you're poor today and arrested, you're subject to pretrial detention. Because if you're rich, you can get out on bail. If you're too poor and are struggling with mental illness, you are going to stay in jail because you cannot afford to get out. If you are poor, suffering from a mental illness and possibly disabled, you will stay in jail in pretrial detention. If you're poor and a juvenile, you're going to stay in pretrial detention. But if all of these scenarios, there was money, you would bail out. So where does it make sense that in 1963 it was if you were too poor, you needed counsel? But today, if you're poor, you can stay in jail. The challenge is maybe it's time to do something about bail reform. And that bail reform can protect the community, but we don't have to do it in pretrial detention. We don't have to do it at the risk of our constitutional rights. Thank you again very much for inviting me and having the privilege to speak with you. English is my second language. I was born in Mexico and came to this country when I was 2 years old. And I've been in the public defender's office for 23 years. I started there as a baby lawyer and I've moved up the ranks. And I now get an office that I'm very proud of, and that we serve our community every single day by simply saying, I object. Thank you. I do want to leave some time for questions, so I kind of want to feel like the price is right.
Yeah. So let me see if I understood you correctly. There are counties in California where there's no public defender's office.
Correct.
So then if I live in one of those counties, how can I access my Supreme Court confirmed right to counsel?
So those counties that do not have formal public defender's office, what they do is they have a contract. So the counties must provide counsel pursuant to the Constitution. And so what they will do is they will contract it out. They will contract with a law firm, and that law firm will say, I will represent all misdemeanors, or I will represent, and sometimes they divide those contracts up between several different firms.
So they have access.
Right, right. They have to have, so that's a very good question. Yes, ma'am.
Just one perspective. District Attorney's Office has what?
Yes. And I can make it, and oftentimes it's really, it's so stark that if I have 68 lawyers, just double it. They have double. Yeah. And investigators, they almost have triple. I'll keep it with the same thing if that's okay.
Is there a cutoff?
So it is governed by the government code in terms of determining indigency. And there's a financial statement that is filled out by the client, and it is taken on an individual basis pursuant to the government code. But it's different. Like I could say, if you're renting and you're charged with a homicide or a life sentence, you're in all likelihood you're indigent. If you're living under a bridge and you're charged with a misdemeanor, in all likelihood you're indigent. But when we see, for example, financial statements or declarations on our screening sheet of persons who are charged with a misdemeanor, that means your jail sentence cannot exceed 6 months or a year, and you own a home and you have 3 cars, in all likelihood you're not going to qualify for the service of the public defender. Why? We would love to represent everybody, but I have to manage resources, and I'm not resourced to represent every individual county, and therefore it's government.
Do you have to make choices?
We do, and it's based on indigency in the government code. the books. Okay, I will then, let's, yes, ma'am.
I actually don't have a question. I want to thank you. We over at Swap Meet Justice want to thank you and your department. We are the only county in California that has a monthly public defender's access at Swap Meet Justice, along with an immigration fair, with those two kinds of lawyers together. An amazing form of justice for people that can't get to an office Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And we just want to thank you so much. We're so honored that your people come to help us.
Oh, thank you very much. We'll go to the table back there.
Hi, I'm Jean Getchell. I'm visiting today thanks to Cheryl Collard. I work the civil side of the courthouse now, and I really don't know zippity-doo-dah on the criminal side. But before I was a lawyer, I was a budget analyst in the CAO's office. So was my friend Bob Raymond. Your discussion about pretrial detention. When I was, before that, I ran admin for Public Works, and we built the pretrial detention facility. I think there's a splendid opportunity to show the, not just the legal and the equitable benefit of what you described, but I'm certain that it's costing the county more to put those people in the pretrial facility than it would to either ankle cuff them or whatever else you could come up with. And I would really like to work on that project.
You're inspiring me, I have to say.
Let me ask you a question.
I'm being live streamed, okay?
What can we as a society do to decrease the requirement? Make our society more active? Is that a fair question?
That's a fair question. So we make, that's the question about what's the workload. I'm gonna take that first, right? As a public defender, so I have 7 people on my executive team. I have a chief over misdemeanors, a chief deputy over felonies, and over investigation and administration. And we are constantly looking at workloads, not only workloads per attorney nationwide. We are constantly looking at workloads in the state of California. So what does that look like? And so we refer to studies, we talk to other offices, and what is a workload that is manageable so that we're not accepting all of these cases and not having the proper resources for them. So we manage those on a, if not a monthly basis, certainly when we get ready to prepare for our budget. And we ask, and so we're now, thankfully in Ventura, we have what's called a pretty good case management system, and out of that case management system, we are keeping our CEO, our budget analysts aware of what resources we need, and we continue to ask for that. So we continue to point out what our workload, and keeping them informed about what our workloads are.
Regardless of your budget, what do we as a society do to protect our workload? What can we do to make this more equitable community where people don't feel they have to steal what things
Dollar, okay. Okay, you added the Steeler worker. That I wish I did have an answer for that. But in terms of making it equitable, it's dollar for dollar, right? So if you're gonna give $1 million, the state is gonna give $1 million to the district attorney's office, give $1 million to the counties to give to their public defender offices, so that we can go dollar for dollar. We go head to head with the district attorney office. But the district attorney has not only all of the Oxnard, Ventura, all of those law enforcement agencies investigating their cases, they also have their own investigators embedded within their office. Did anybody catch how many I have? Yeah, 16. They're in their office, they have embedded more than 100 investigators. And they have all of the other police agencies as part of their investigation. So it should be dollar for dollar coming from the state, because the burden is also on the county. Because the county has to fund, the public defender's office is a 98% funded by the general fund. This was so last year was the first year that the state of California gave public defender offices a grant. And so it was based on your adult population, and you could get a grant for post-conviction. They gave you 4 areas that you had to work under, and this was the first ever. Just as these grants are given for law enforcement, they should be given for defense as well, because we are doing, and it's not exclusive to Ventura County. The public defender offices do 80%, they represent 80% of those persons charged with crimes in their counties. It's not a Ventura County anomaly. We seek alternatives to incarceration. Fund those, give funding streams for those for us who seek alternatives to incarceration, who are seeking, treatment options, who are seeking other ways of not putting people not incarcerating. Legislation that says that instead of putting someone in pretrial detention, if you're charged with a low-level crime, don't put them in jail. Just don't put them in jail, but make them accountable, right? I'm not saying let's not hold people accountable, but why do we have to detain them pre-trial? And if I had, $500,000 in my bank account, I could get out and go ahead and go rob somebody else or go do whatever I need to go do in another county. It's just, it's not equitable. And advocacy needs to happen. It needs to happen legislatively. It needs to happen locally, and it has to be concerted, strategic plan. So that's, maybe I did have an answer. Yes. Oh my goodness.
No, of course, I love all the work you're doing, and your office works really hard. You kind of touched on where I was going, is how do we make this equitable for you? Because I know the public defender's office works 4 times over, only because I'm always calling Buddy.
Regina, you and I go way back, Regina. Okay.
I know. So one of the things is, it was interesting that you brought up dollar, and legislation is important. And now that you put that seed in my mind, guess what I'm going to go back to? Because too many times when you talk about how to resolve the problem, you have poor people who are just trying to make it daily. Homelessness, mental illness causes people to do things that probably in a normal set mind wouldn't do. And the public defender's office is always there trying to get people off, because sometimes these are innocent people who just happen to do bad things. Yes, we should hold them accountable. I agree with you, but not to the extent where it's life changing. And so I didn't want to, but he kind of brought up what I was thinking. How do we make this equitable? What do we need to do? You need more investigators. God knows you do, as much as I call. And I'm going to advocate for what I can, and hopefully the League of Women Voters will do the same thing as well. And so enough of us call and start complaining, start showing up to those Tuesday meetings as board of supervisors and let our voices be heard. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you, Regina. Cynthia, and then I promise we'll move back there. I know I wanted to leave time for questions.
Awesome. I have a great compliment and a question, which is hard for lawyers to know that. So
I know, Cynthia.
really, really hard at it.
You're speaking my language, so you give me a structure. I love it, love it.
First of all, thank you for this presentation. You talked about things I didn't know, and I'm grateful. And that 11,500 of 14,000 cases that are filed, you deserve, your office deserves a round of applause and some more money. And so I definitely think you brought it to the right group. And then for those of us that belong to other organizations, we need to take it back to those community organizations as well. So like Miss Regina back there said, it needs to come to the forefront because people don't know these stats. They don't know this information. So thank you for sharing that. And then a statement about what we can do as a community. I feel like the alternatives to a pre-trial detention, I think those will be getting to help. Like you said, there are people who need help with drug addiction or need help with different things in their lives, mental illness, behavioral health issues. They need those helps, that help in their lives, and I feel like that will help us become a better society because we're helping to take care of each other and we're making sure that those resources are available. So keep doing what you're doing, even the post detention stuff. Keep doing that because our recidivism rate, I believe in 2020, I think it was 50%, maybe a little bit lower than that, but I mean, but still pretty high. And it's because I believe it's because there aren't enough resources available, and the ones that are available, no one knows about them. And so it's hard to get the help when you don't know that it exists. So that information needs to get out there a little bit more. And then my question is, what are your thoughts about the sentencing disparities that happen here in Ventura County, or overall, like the racial disparities that happen in our justice system in Ventura? Maybe you can talk about it.
Thank you very much, Cynthia, for your kind words and very astute observations. So one comment on the recidivism rate. One thing for this group to consider is that there are studies that have looked at recidivism. And the studies that have come out of this county have shown that when you intervene pre-trial and when you offer services, the likelihood that that individual is going to recidivate, that means come through the system again within 3 years, because that is the definition of recidivism, they are down substantially. You almost cut it in half if you intervene pre-trial and you offer services instead of incarceration. If you're going to have incarceration and you offer services, the likelihood of that individual coming through the system within 3 years decreases. And even if it decreases by 1%, that's one person that isn't going to go through the system again. 2 people, even better. There are inequities in our system. There is absolutely no doubt. And that they fall along racial and they fall along class, because when have we as a society have made a concerted effort to look at those and to attempt to make strides to change them? And we're doing that now, right? But what we have seen is statistically, because we're looking at numbers now, people want data, and understandably we should demand data, that we incarcerate and hold people in pretrial detention and convict people at a disproportionate rate, and those people are men of color. And so how do we change that? We've got to look at our practices in terms of who gets stopped and in what communities. And I'm going to propose, maybe we look at if we have a DUI checkpoint in Oxnard. Why is it that we don't have a DUI checkpoint in Westlake? I'd like somebody to answer that for me. I don't have an answer. But those are things that I think about when I read how many DUI checkpoints we have in Oxnard. How many do we have in Ventura? How many do we have in Thousand Oaks? How many DUI checkpoints do we have in Simi Valley? So those are things that we as a community, and that possibly as organizations that you are all part of, not just the League of Women Voters that I understand is not partisan, but that we can ask certainly, we can ask those questions, or go to our police chief and say, talk to me about your statistics, because they'll share with you that the reason we have so many checkpoints in Oxnard is because possibly an explanation could be we have a lot of drunk drivers coming out of Oxnard. I guess people in Westlake don't drink wine or beer, right? follow along class lines, and maybe they don't, but we have to ask those questions. We must, as citizens, because there may be a reasonable explanation as to why they happen in the poorer communities and not so much in those other, in other communities. There may be explanations for that. And they may be reasonable, but we've got to ask. Does that make sense? Any other, yes, Ms. Armstrong. For some reason I remember your name, and that's probably because you're giving out money. I know you were giving out money to Ali, but okay.
That was good.
Yes.
Well, as Cynthia was saying, I learned a lot today about things I did not know about. And as one of the groups that's advocating for social justice, how can we, because I'm pleased, actually, how can we advocate for this pretrial detention to be changed? Because I've read a little bit about it and it seems not very effective.
A good starting point is to contact your board of supervisors. Let's start there, right? Is to plan to have conversations with those representatives who say they represent you. And you can start with your board of supervisors. You can start with your elected officials. And if some of you know judicial officers, begin to have those conversations, feel comfortable about having those conversations. And we have a wonderful thing called the internet. And if you Google Humphrey, which was the case that came out approximately 3 years ago that said pretrial detention for the poor is unconstitutional. But somehow we continue to incarcerate the poor pretrial detention because somehow there's a workaround that they managed to effectuate. But we have to continue to advocate for that. Ventura County during COVID, or the Judicial Council, I'm sorry, Judicial Council during COVID instituted what was called zero bail. What that meant is that if it was a low-level offense, a misdemeanor, it could not be and the crime could not be a crime of violence. So a rock and marijuana, any misdemeanor where your exposure was 6 months or less. It was for a short period during COVID because they didn't want to overburden the jails because they did not have the capacity or were able to keep people safe. It was zero bail, which meant that you were going to receive a citation, you were possibly going to be booked, and your bail was going to be $0. But you were given a citation, a date to come back, and a court appearance. There's the accountability piece. Because contrary to the media and out there that, oh, people were just going to, lawlessness was going to ensue. That didn't happen. And people were still being held accountable. Those crimes did not go away. They're being prosecuted. They're being charged. And the district attorney has a backlog in terms of those kinds of those crimes in those cases, of which for every 10 that they file will represent 8 or 9 of them. Okay? But that's a start. We can begin a conversation. Why not bring zero bail for those offenses that are nonviolent, that don't pose harm or a risk to another human being that we're talking about? I understand. So that's a start. I want to, yes, Karen.
So to follow up on that, who has the power to do that? Supervisors?
Legislation. So
it has to be by legislation.
It could be one legislation. We can also begin to talk about reforming the bail schedule. That's the Judicial Council. We can talk about possibly the Board of Supervisors. There are tons of committees that our Board of Supervisors participate in. One being, I believe it's called the California State Association of Counties, and oftentimes CSAC, and oftentimes they deal with issues of criminal justice. And so we can begin to make inroads there.
And a different question, how do our rates of imprisonment compare with the state and country? You know?
So in terms of, so prison is very different from jail. So prison, we had 7 different prisons in the state of California. Some of them have been shut down. So Karen, if you want to talk about the prison or jail, our local jail. Those fluctuate. The lowest number of jail population you ever saw was during COVID, but it never went below. So for some context, the jail population tends to float anywhere between 1,000 at their maximum capacity of 1,400. And during COVID, it went down maybe to 7, 8. And it's pre-trial detention. Pre-trial detention. If you're in jail, you don't want to be in jail. So you're going to take a plea deal, even though you may be innocent. How is that fair? How is that not a compromise of my Sixth Amendment right? So we'll give it to Ms. Sharon Crane there.
I was curious if, what the standard is for your caseload, and if you go over the standard, can you also contract out or not? Or you don't have the funds to do that? So what do you do when the standard gets exceeded, which I'm sure it does all the time?
Thankfully, Sharon, our standards for how many cases our attorneys can handle have not been so overburdened that we've had to, there is like a safety mechanism, which is, as the public defender, I can say that I am unavailable to take on any more cases. I have a very supportive board of supervisors and have since I became the public defender in 2021, 2 years ago. Because when I ask for resources, they've been listening. And so I want to keep that support and keep the standards such that, so for our felony lawyers, we try to keep them anywhere between 40 and 60. And so we monitor those cases. We have 24 felony lawyers. We have 12 misdemeanor lawyers at any given time. We try to keep those caseloads under 60. Anything getting above that, we need to be talking about what do we need to do. And we have options in terms of asking the county for temporary fixed term positions, which, hopefully have with data supporting the work that we're doing, ask them to go from fixed term to full time to permanent. That's the goal. Strategic, I want to be strategic, I want to be focused on augmenting my footprint when this office is conducting the lion's share of the work in criminal legal defense. Do we have more time, or everybody hungry? I know what time is it?
We have about 8 minutes left.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, we have a question.
We've been talking a lot about
Yes.
and it's funny, more people die in the pre-trial detention like this. I'm wondering if that's something that your office would investigate. Not that you need more of a workload, but I reached out to BDSO and they told me it's an issue of privacy, even when I filed the Freedom of Information Act. I'm wondering if any of those who died were tested for COVID, and what the circumstances surrounding their deaths were.
No, thank you very much for elevating that statistic, which should concern us all, and thank you for bringing that up. So wrongful death is something that we need to be pursued, which is civil in nature. And you're highlighting that it's certainly not something that we can't pursue because it's not criminal. And so there are certain parameters of cases that we can take as public defender's office governed by the government code. So I would encourage you to seek a civil attorney in wrongful death, and it probably will have to come out of another county and have them pursue some sort of class action. You have the names of the people who passed away, to maybe get them all coalesced around one. But that's civil. Yeah. Okay, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you. A few years back, I had a traffic violation from a photo enforced signal.
Yeah.
And so I was rather shocked to find that the fine was like $540, somewhere in that range. So I went to court, and it was really shocking to see these young, like students or other people who are burdened with $500 fine. That just doesn't seem equitable to me. And I looked into where that money goes. A third of it goes to the state, a third of it goes to the county, and I think a third goes to the city. Anyway, I think this is really, talk about justice for, that doesn't seem commensurate with the crime committed. And it can very much alter someone's life. So it's a law, yes. What do we do about that? We have to overturn the law or?
So in that very example lies all of these assessments and fees. So just like the governor is currently pursuing all of these fees in the background of hotels and you have the resort fee and all of that, because really the fine, if you actually look at the section and you look at the fine should be no more than $150 or $50, right? But then they add all of these assessments and civil assessments and all of these other extra. That's something that you can talk to your legislature about, because what has changed the last 3 years was prior to the rescinding of this, our clients would have to pay for their own defense. They would have to pay for a public defender. So how does that seem fair, right? Is that I'm poor, but yet I've got to pay for my own defense. They're prosecuting me and I've got to pay for that. How does that make sense? Well, it didn't. And so the legislature said no more. So if you're poor, you don't have to pay for your own prosecution, i.e. your own defense. And so the same has to happen with all of these civil assessments, but that would also require that the state make up that funding gap, because how many have been to jury duty? Okay. Jury duty, down to the courthouse. That all gets paid through that same fund, and the state has to kind of say, if I'm not gonna, here's money to help you with upgrading the bathrooms or the carpets or the seats, so it doesn't look like, something you wouldn't want to even have your dog sit in, So we're all funding it in some way or another, but it's advocacy. Yes, Ken?
Yeah. Could you address just briefly the state of the juvenile court system here in Ventura County and juvenile detention?
Our hope is that the criminal legal system goes the same as the juvenile legal system, because slowly and surely the laws are changing in terms of incarcerating children. And it's changing because people are looking at the science and saying, for those whose brains aren't quite developed, how can we be charging them as fully developed adults? So let's look to alternatives to their incarceration. And the closing down of the juvenile prison had to have happened, and they're bringing them to our local community. But what's coming with that are a lot of resources, a lot of money that is coming to the county for alternative programming, for alternatives to that incarceration, right? So it's, what does that child need in order to become productive, successful when they leave, when they walk out of this juvenile detention facility? And that juvenile detention facility that was built to house 760 juveniles now is like under 100 and sometimes fluctuates between 40 and 60, which is great. But I still want to ask, is it necessary to still have 40 and 60 at the juvenile detention facility? Is there a way that they can be in the community? Is there a way that they can be with a family member? Maybe not with the family member that got them to where they're at, but maybe some other family member, some other way. What's the alternative? So while we're making inroads, fantastic. I keep asking questions about, well, is that enough? And so I pose to all of you to ask that question, is that enough? And are we satisfied? And if we're not, let's get onto Google, let's look at these research papers, let's talk to private lawyers about class action suits about COVID, let's talk to the jail about their pretrial detention facility, let's talk about the programs that they're offering if you're detained. Let's talk about pretrial detention. Why do we need to put somebody in custody if they can't even afford to buy a carton of milk? But let's do something about it. We all have agency. We all have agency. And I promise you that I am going to utilize 100% of my agency to change. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Claudia. This was, to me, very informative and very nicely presented. We have a little token of our appreciation. Give me a second. Thank you so much. One of our members, Jan, we really have put this together for you. We so appreciate her being here today. So give her a big round of applause. So we will be finishing up the end of our business portion of the meeting. It looks like lunch is almost on the way to being served. So maybe when I get a signal that it's up, we can start releasing people to it. At this time, I just want to thank everybody who worked hard to put this event on today, including the members of the planning committee, which was Betsy Patterson, Chelsea Satula, Rock, and myself. Also, we had a lot of other people involved, such as our treasurer, Karen Sabat, who helped in many, many ways. Karen Lakerhand. Maddie Parks, who's assisted with too many things to mention. Kay Armstrong, who provided the lovely flowers for the table. Thank you, Kay. Jan Rieger and Betsy Patterson, who made muffins for me and Joanne. And everybody who came and participated. It's so great to see so many people here today, and I really am happy that we had everybody come. It's nice to be in person again. And one last thing, don't forget that we have an ice cream social on July 16th from 1:30 to 4:30 p.m. at Camarillo Grove County Park, which is at the bottom of the Conejo grade. If you buy your tickets today, you will get a special gold ticket that comes with an extra treat. You can see Betsy or Karen before you leave, or if you purchase online today only, we will add you to the gold ticket. So it would be lovely to see all of you there. As you all know, at the end of June, I will no longer be president, but I really appreciate the support of the board and everybody else who helped me so much over the last year. David Marin and Harlan Hurd, everybody. I couldn't have done it without you, so thank you so much. And I'm hoping that we're ready to
We have one more little thing we'd like to do is, I would like you all to show your appreciation for Kathy Morgan, who is the president. She has guided us in some volunteers. She has been coaching, listening, understanding what our members are saying, our board members are saying. She's been innovative, and it's been a great deal. Oh, thank you.
Thank you all. And perhaps before the board members leave today, I'd like to get a picture of all of us here, maybe when other people are getting their food. So thank you so much, everybody. Can I see, is there a symbol of the food is ready yet? Well, give us a minute, and when I get that clarified, we will start having people come to go and get their food. Thank you so much.
Please take an opportunity to walk around the room and see all the amazing activities that your membership is doing. And sign up.